Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the President's Home at Sanford University in Birmingham, Alabama on a lovely April evening. Jeanna and I have hosted thousands of guests in this home over the years, and tonight it's a special privilege to welcome families for the Sanford class of 2025. We are so glad that you are joining us here tonight. I have asked a few friends to come to the house tonight to participate in a panel session. And I can promise you that this is unscripted, unrehearsed. In fact, about 15 seconds before we went live, we were all engaged in uproarious laughter about various stories. And so that's going to continue, I think, throughout the next hour. I'm going to be asking these friends a few questions as we get the evening underway. But then you'll have the opportunity to raise questions for us with the chat feature that should be located on the right side of your screen. And I want to take just a moment now to introduce these friends. And then I'm going to sit down and we're going to have some good old-fashioned conversation. And first this evening is Reverend Scott Dawson. Scott is the president of Scott Dawson Evangelistic Association. What a clever name to have you as your company, Scott. Well done. He's also a Sanford graduate, and he is a Sanford parent. He and his wife have had a son and daughter that have come to Sanford. Mm-hmm. Their son graduated, and their daughter is with us tonight, Miss Hope Dawson. And Hope is a senior at Sanford, and she is also the president of our SGA. She's going to graduate in a few weeks, and she already has a job lined up in Washington, D.C., where she will be essentially running the United States of America. Next, we have Dr. Gary Atkins, who is Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs at Sanford. He is also a Sanford parent, and we're so glad to have him tonight. Then we have Dr. Tommy Taylor, who is Chief of Public Safety. Chief Taylor already has on his Chief of Police face tonight. I can see that. And Dr. Taylor, again, we're glad that you're joining us. And then we have Dr. Jeanna Westmoreland, who is the First Lady of Sanford University, the Executive Director of the Sanford Legacy League. So we have Reverend Dawson, we have Miss Dawson, we have Dr. Atkins, we have Dr. Taylor, we have Dr. Westmoreland, and for purposes of this discussion tonight, it's going to be Scott and Hope and Gary and Tommy and Jeanna and Andy. So there we go. And let me get to work quickly, and we're going to start off with you all down there, Dawson. So here we go. And Hope, you're going to go first. And you have participated in a whole lot of leadership opportunities at Sanford for the last 4 years. As I said, you've been president of our SGA, heavily involved with everything. You didn't know that your senior year and your entire tenure as president of the SGA at Sanford was going to be completely dominated by how we were going to get through the year with COVID. Not anything that you necessarily asked for, but I'm really glad that in the providence of God that you were the SGA president this year, because you've done a magnificent job.
Thank you.
Talk with us about how, from your perspective, a student perspective, how Sanford has adapted COVID and how we still managed to kind of connect despite all the challenges of the past year.
Definitely. So last semester, a lot of my classes were still online, but a lot of my friends had in-person classes. But this year, every single one of my classes are in person, which has been great. And so we can still go to office hours, but maintain distance, have our masks on. And so we can keep that relationship with our professors. But also SGA has still been able to have freshman forums. So the incoming freshmen are able to meet every week. Senators are able to meet every week. So we still have those events happening. And our Student Activities Council was able to have our Easter egg hunt this past week. And they have fun pop-up days on Ben Brown's. So a food truck will come and it'll be free food for the first 100 students that come on and visit the food truck. Milo's was here giving out free nuggets. That was really fun on Thursday. But then also, you didn't have to laugh that hard.
Free food.
So free food is something that we do a lot of, and that's the way that we've been able to build connection, because everyone loves food and everyone comes around for it. But also the Office of Spiritual Life has done a great job. They've done a freshman retreat. They've been able to do a small groups and really emphasize that this semester as well.
Let's talk for just 1 minute about the Easter egg hunt, because if we talk for 1 minute, it's actually going to be longer than the entire Easter hunt. How does that work?
So the Easter egg hunt every year, usually students just line up and someone just says go, and they run across the quad, and there are Easter eggs hidden all across the quad, and you can win crazy prizes. Last year they were AirPods Pros. This year it was one of those fancy cameras. I don't even know what it was, but it's really like high-tech prizes, gift cards to places around Birmingham. But it's not just like a Snickers bar. These are things that you could sell on Amazon, make a profit for, but you shouldn't. But
Okay, cut. Okay. One of the things that as families are narrowing down choices, and I should say for benefit of those watching, we've got about 90% of the class formed for the class of 2025. There are a few of these people out there that have not yet made up their minds. And of course, especially during this time, with students, quote, going away to college, there are concerns, understandably, about safety and all of those things. And families kind of want their kids close to home. You've had plenty of opportunity to interact with these guys here in the middle and to watch them at work, especially as Dr. Atkins has helped with managing a whole lot of the challenges of COVID and coping with that and keeping our people safe. And then Dr. Taylor, he just goes about his normal routine with watching out after our students and employees. From your perspective with these gentlemen, as you've interacted with them and seen them work, talk about the level of trust that students have for them and for their work.
Well, one thing is these two men definitely love students and they love Sanford, and they really love Sanford's mission. And that is something that is evident to everyone that they come in contact with. I mean, just from a brief, well, it wasn't that brief. It was about an hour conversation that Dr. Taylor and I had in his office. We were supposed to discuss plans for the year and everything, but we just ended up talking about his testimony, my testimony, and about why we do the things that we do and just how Sanford's mission aligns with that. And also just trying to proclaim the kingdom while doing that as well. And so Sanford is in great hands. Luckily, I haven't had too many run-ins with public safety. But one year, my sophomore year, I was living in my sorority house and someone was making pot stickers in the kitchen and they burned them really badly. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of pot stickers, so. Yeah. But it took 45 minutes for the smoke to clear out of the house and they were burned that badly. But public safety came and they sat with us the entire time. It was great.
Did they come with like cans of Febreze and go all through?
They did not.
They came with Snicker bars.
Scott, okay, mentioned earlier, two kids that you all have put through Sanford. Actually, you own this room.
Those stairs. I'll take those stairs over there.
Okay. And we know the sacrifices that families have to make to send their students to college, and especially to a private college like Sanford. So talk with us about how you all went through the calculus of determining that sacrifice was going to be worth it.
Yeah, well, it is a cost. You determine the cost before you build so you can know the sacrifice that's made. I would say Sanford for our children have been the perfect place. And we have two distinct styles. My son came in knowing exactly what he wanted to do, got on the fast track, graduated with 150 hours, and went right into accounting and now is a CPA. When Hope was coming in, I think I made the statement, she may never leave. She loves Sanford. She loves to try everything. And so if a parent is watching tonight and you're listening into this conversation, ultimately it's a prayer journey. You're just praying for your son or your daughter to be in the center of God's will, to be where he wants them to be. And then I would say Sanford for us worked through all those different decisions that had to be made financially. For us, I know some people with a lot of money. We don't have a lot of money, But Sanford was able to have payment plans. If you're not able to pay for it all at the very beginning, there's great scholarship opportunities. And for us, it was something that we could say, yes, it was a sacrifice, but we didn't have Roman noodles tonight, so it's okay. I mean, you're going to be okay. And for the investment, you have to look for the investment in return. The return for our children, we're number one, an incredible environment, to incredible instruction, to be shepherded from the Westmorelands, and I know it's going to continue on with the Taylors, to love students and to put them in a position of success. And that's what we all want. We can't do the success for our children, but we want them to have that opportunity. And Dr. Westmoreland, Mrs. Westmoreland, Dr. and Mrs. Westmoreland, you have provided that for both of our children. And for that, there's a sincere sense of gratitude.
Thank you, Scott. I knew there was a good reason why we invited you here tonight. Thank you for all of that, and we appreciate your family so much. Hope before I completely leave you with this part of the questioning, your dad made reference to kind of transition here. And I think most of the people who are probably watching this tonight know that that we announced our plans for retirement a few months ago, and that's coming up on June 30. And in fact, folks, we've moved everything out of the house. The stuff that you see in here tonight, it's just props because the house is virtually empty. And so we came over here just to film this tonight. And this is probably, I guess, the last thing that we will actually host in the president's house. So we made that announcement, and then Sanford formed a search committee to hire the next president, to recommend the next president to the board. 23 people on that search committee. It was kind of like if you'd ever driven down Lakeshore Drive, you were invited to serve on the search committee. That's not true. It was a blue ribbon committee, and there were 3 students who were on the committee, and you were one of those students. And so you went through an exhausting search as you all were trying to discern who should be the next president. Tell us a little bit about that process, and then let's talk about the family that was selected and that will soon be moving into this house.
It's so exciting. First of all, thank you for the wonderful opportunity. It was so much fun. But Dr. Taylor and his wife, Miss Julie, are incredible. There is no doubt in my mind that they are the people who the Lord has chosen to follow in y'all's footsteps and lead Sanford in just a Christ-centered way, and just a way that's honoring to the Lord. And they love students so much. They've done an incredible job over at Whitworth, but their kids will also be joining them, at least their youngest daughter, Chloe. And I was texting with his wife this morning about dance studios in the Birmingham area because they're coming in town this week. But they are so excited. I'm so excited to welcome back Dr. Taylor to Sanford.
We're excited too, and we couldn't feel better about the transition. We think that it's just going to be, already is, one of the best transitions in higher education leadership in the history of the universe. So it's going really well. And just to clip everybody in, last weekend, Jeanna and I met Beck and Julie for a full weekend of planning. We got together on Thursday night of last week, and we started talking on Thursday night over dinner. We talked all the way through Friday. We talked all the way through Saturday, and we parted company on Sunday. And all 4 of us, I think, just felt that this was really the best thing that could happen. We were so happy. And so thanks for serving on that committee and for doing such a great job. Gary, let's talk to you for a few minutes, okay? One of the things that you've probably been more involved than anybody that I know on the planet in sometimes having to be kind of the enforcer about Sanford rules and conduct and all of those things. And that's not always the happiest job in the world, I know, but you have done it so well over the years. And one of the things that you are known for is for enforcing standards of behavior, but at the same time, attempting to always be redemptive as you work with young men and young women. Talk with us about that part of your work, and how it is that you've come to have that redemptive spirit in what you do.
When you think about young individuals, it's a growth opportunity. That growth starts with mom and dad. Mom and dad, we bring them from a sense of being totally dependent to somewhat independent. And then there's this transition that we talk about sometimes, the transition from high school to college. There has to be a safety net. And when students come to campus, I think that not only myself, but I think most of the campus community believes that the students come in with their own sets of ideas that have to be molded. That molding sometimes takes some creativity that has to be understood, that everyone is not the same, but it's an educational process. Conduct should not be a punitive tool. It should be a process where individuals learn how to live within a community, learn how to understand that being a part of a community, comes obligations. And those obligations becomes those things that make them grow as an individual, give them wisdom, give them productive nature of the campus. What we hope to happen in our conduct processes across the campus is that individuals grow. And in that growth, there is a growth from being from a dependent to independence to young adulthood. And I often say young adults. We're dealing with young adults and molding those individuals. So I think it's most important.
Well said. Another thing, Gary, that you had placed on you this year was helping to manage so many aspects of what we were doing with COVID, and especially as we got into in the summer, the late part of the summer, about requiring testing for students and employees who were coming back. And I do know that at one point, and I think it was in early August, you were literally wading through message by message, hundreds of email messages from students and employees on dealing with them one case at a time and working your way through that. And yet you persisted, and not once did I ever see you lose your cool. Now, there may have been those times and I just didn't see it. But I think that most people who know you would say that you persevered through all that very, very well. What was the key to your equilibrium during that time?
I'm going to say it like this. I think that when we think about COVID and the stressors of COVID, from the university standpoint, from my standpoint, I had to understand that parents and students come in from a perspective, well, their high school has been just demolished, their high school experience, and they're hoping to go to now a collegiate experience that has been somewhat modified, damaged, to where now, okay, how can I enjoy myself? How can I have the collegiate experience? In thinking about what they were encountering and then what we were trying to provide, it had to be an educational thing for them. Okay, Sanford is not just doing this just to say, okay, we're going to restrict you. We're doing this for a couple of reasons. One, we want a safe environment for you. We want an environment, secondly, that you can have some experiences of the collegiate experience, but recognize there are some things that we have to do differently to make sure that you're safe and the large community is safe. Yeah. So I think that, for me personally, I think talking with parents, talking with students, and getting them to a point to where they felt comfortable with what we were doing, that made me feel better.
Yeah. And to some extent, I guess, managing expectations through that as well, which I know it continues to be a challenge. Tommy, I'm gonna throw you a real curveball with this. This may be the first time that a chief of public safety for any college or university has been asked this question. You served as a missionary.
Yes, correct.
Before doing this work, right?
Correct.
Tell us a little bit about your missions experience.
I served with the International Mission Board in Santiago, Chile, so we can actually have these conversations in English or Spanish, Dr. Westmoreland. So.
Well, you could.
Yes. So I could say anything and you wouldn't know. That's the key. It was
my other language was French, and that was a long time ago.
it was a tremendous opportunity for my family. It was truly a God calling situation where I was able to actually put my career on hold with the state where I used to be employed, and actually take the entire family down to extreme South America, which is the region we served in. You really can't get much farther than Santiago, Chile, without coming back up the other side of the globe. So it is a far piece from here, but it was a great opportunity, and it truly helped me mold myself, I think, in a way that allowed me to strive to be more servant oriented. I think sometimes when we think of missionaries, we think of everybody being an evangelist or a pastor. And the truth of the matter is probably 99% of all missionaries are not pastors. They may be accountants, they may be church planters, they may be teachers, all kinds of things. But truly, it shaped us. It shaped our family. And one of the most poignant moments that I can ever remember is I'd gone to all these classes and then all these things with International Mission Board, and we were done in extreme southern Chile. And we were actually having a Iglesia en Casa, church in the house is what it was called. And we're talking about these super pastoral topics that I really wasn't qualified to talk about, but it was great to sit there. And I looked at the creek behind our home where we were staying, and there's my son fishing with a hand line, witnessing to another young kid about Christ. And I knew right then, all this other stuff is important, but that's what matters right there. That's what matters.
Well, good segue into my next question for you, because I do happen to know that one of the reasons why you were at Sanford is because of the distinct Christian mission of Sanford, and you wanted to be involved in this, plant yourself here.
Yes, sir.
And so how does that play out on a normal basis where you're having to really enforce standards in your work?
In law enforcement, you pray a lot anyway. And but the very first meeting I ever attended at Sanford University, I was asked to lead a prayer for that group. It was a group of building coordinators, and that set the tone for my work here. But I can tell you it was my meeting with you, Dr. Westmoreland. Just so people know, when I met with you to interview for this position, one of the things that you did was you prayed with me. And I knew from that moment that my prayer life, that what Scripture was saying where I needed to be and my circumstances were lined up. And you hit that home for me. So Sanford is not just a place where students, I think, get a wonderful education. I think it's a place where people grow in their spiritual walk with the Lord and they become stronger. And I share this with all my officers every day. You have one primary responsibility, no matter what else you do or don't do. You leave everybody you come in contact with better than you found them. And I think that's because, the Holy Spirit guides us that way. And Sanford allows me to do that. I don't have to hide my faith and pray in a closet. We can openly pray, and I'm proud that I get that opportunity to do that.
I am too. And Scott, that 99% of missionary thing applies to evangelists as well. That is true. Jeanna, okay. What can I ask you? Jeanna works with a group that is affiliated with Sanford called the Legacy League. As a kind of a setup to the next question, let me ask you, what exactly is the Legacy League and what do y'all do?
The Legacy League is a volunteer organization of a little over 800 individuals who our primary purpose is to raise money for scholarships for students. And the students that we give our scholarships to are those who have significant financial need, and in particular who have faced some challenging circumstances in life that might prevent them from pursuing education at Sanford.
And how have some of those stories and those individual lives impacted your own life and your work?
Wow. I would say, first of all, it's very humbling to walk alongside these students as they come to Sanford or as they're looking at coming to Sanford, and just realizing that they have faced death of a parent, death of both parents. Some of them have been homeless. They have faced circumstances that we typically don't think about, students at Sanford having faced. And just realizing that, that in our organization, we have the opportunity not only to raise money to make a Sanford education possible for them, but then we have the privilege of walking alongside them through their Sanford experience, providing opportunities to gather together on a monthly basis in homes and develop relationships with each other among the scholarship recipients, but also develop relationships with our members and volunteers. And I think it's just a continual reminder to me that attending Sanford is not something that is accessible to everyone, and that that in as many ways as possible, we want to do what we can to bridge that gap, to stand in the gap for those students who don't have the financial means to come here, and to make a dream a reality for them.
And we view it all, don't we all, as a great privilege? Everything a great blessing, a great privilege that none of us take for granted. Would you just take a minute and tell us the story real quickly about your own circumstances with your mom going to college?
My mother was the next to the youngest of 14 children, and she grew up in extreme poverty. And no member of her family had been able to go to college. They grew up as tenant farmers, planting cotton, harvesting cotton. Some of her earliest memories are dragging a long cotton sack down those long rows and picking, chopping, hoeing, whatever the season called for. And she had a dream, however, of going to college, of being the one in her family who would break out of that cycle of poverty. And that dream experienced a significant setback when she was 16, and both of her parents died within 9 days of each other. And she then was just in survival mode. She was able to finish high school, and all of her brothers and sisters were financially strapped to the extent that they really couldn't help her go to college, so she didn't have encouragement there. But her pastor took her to a nearby Christ-centered college and took her to meet the president of that college. And those two men took her to the First National Bank of that little town and co-signed a loan and borrowed the money in their names so that my mom could receive a college education. And then she paid that money back, $10 a month until the debt was paid.
Scott, would you be willing to go ahead and co-sign for any of the families out there? We'll take you down to the bank. I would do it. I'm no longer going to be president. But I think perhaps you understand from Jeanna's perspective on telling that story about how we view all of this. And I'm a first-generation college graduate. Nobody in my family either side had graduated from college. And so we have a particular passion about trying to raise money for scholarships for our students. And I can also tell you, and I'll bet you heard this story from Dr. Taylor as he was interviewing for the job. In his own family, Dr. Taylor, when he was 3 years old, was left there. His mother had to raise him alone from the time that he was 3. And the stories of how he grew up and how, except for the grace of God and the generosity of some really important people in the pathway, he would never have made it along these lines. So Sanford may not be exactly what you think it is in terms of everybody having it all put together and all the money that they need. It is not that way. And so we deal with those cases all the time. We are going to go to a few questions, which I have no idea how we're doing on time, but we're drifting aimlessly, but we're making good time. This question: you anticipate requiring the COVID vaccine to attend? And I don't know, Gary or Tommy, do y'all want to respond to that?
Yeah, I think at the current time, we're not anticipating encouraging. We have reached quite a bit of what they call it when so many of
Herd immunity.
herd immunity on our
Yes,
campus. At least 77% of our faculty and staff has taken the vaccine, and when it's offered to our students, we're hope to encourage.
Certainly.
So,
I think at last count, I know everybody's anxious for COVID to end. I've personally tested over 1,500 people for COVID, and my last test was number 64 for me. So I can appreciate people being concerned about COVID and what's next, but I don't know of any plan that would mandate students to have that.
No, haven't we learned over the last year that you can't ever say this is the way that it's going to be. But as best I can tell, a lame duck president, from all the discussions that we're having, I don't anticipate that it would be required. Strongly encouraged. And the last stat that I saw is something like 82% of our employees now have received the vaccine. Jeanna and I are scheduled to receive it in a few days. We actually, despite the fact that we wore our masks and washed our hands and distanced and everything else, at the very end of Christmas break, we managed to get it. And despite the fact that we hadn't been anywhere except to the grocery store. So that means that our vaccine was delayed. And so that's coming up in just a few days. But we will be strongly encouraging our students to get it. Will the campus student ministry be having their retreat this fall? And Gary, hope y'all have current information about that.
It has been mentioned, and I think they're planning on doing so.
That's my understanding as well, that they are indeed planning. And customarily, we have a really large crowd of new students who go on that retreat. So that there will be more information about that forthcoming. How many dorms are there for freshmen? Are they allowed to have cars? When is Greek Rush? Okay. A plethora of questions there. There are a lot of dorms.
A whole lot. Yeah.
Actually, we have for exclusively freshman housing, we have 3 primary residence halls that are Smith for men and Vail for women and Pittman also for women. And then we place the other students around as we are able to do so. And some of the residence halls, particularly in Beeson Woods, end up being entirely filled with new students.
Vail is our primary female freshman hall.
Yes.
And, in the past times, and Hope can probably contest this, we will, during overflow period of time, we will transfer Pittman Hall either male or female, contingent on what numbers would say. We also use part of West Campus. Mountain View Hall is a male freshman complex. So we have 2 male complexes primarily, Smith and Mountain View. I'm going to say that right now because of the numbers. And then we have Vail and Pittman will be our primary complexes for freshmen.
And Mountain View is placed right in the middle of the sorority house. So if the guys want to keep that in mind.
You wouldn't say that. Okay, there's that conduct thing we're talking about earlier.
Placement is everything.
It's a good selling point.
Location.
That's great. Well, actually, one of the great things about residence life at Sanford is location.
Location, that's right.
Because most of those residence halls are located in what we call central campus.
Yes.
And, you can literally roll out of bed and, be in class in 10 minutes.
Right.
So there you go. About cars, we'll toss this to you, Hope.
Okay.
Are students allowed to have cars?
Yes, they are. It's only $60 a year to have a car on campus, and freshmen have the best parking. They have a parking deck that's 4 levels, 5 levels, way too many levels. That's right in the middle of campus. Well,
Prime parking.
it's prime parking. It is the best. And there's an elevator. It's covered. It's perfect.
It just sounds ideal.
Cool.
It really does. Tommy, you want to talk to the other side of that with parking on campus?
Parking it certainly is available everywhere. You know, sometimes you'll get people that'll say, well, I don't want to park that far away from class or from my residence hall or whatnot. But parking at Sanford is, to me, is perfect because you're never parking in a place where you don't have a great view. Again, the freshmen are all in their own private carport, basically.
Mhm.
And but parking is certainly available. It's color coded by the year that you are in school, and typically the higher you get in ranking, whether you're a junior or senior, sometimes you end up parking a little bit farther away than the freshmen do. But parking is not an issue. It's not an issue.
But
Well,
there's a shuttle. If
yeah.
you
Right.
do
Yes,
end
ma'am.
up on one of those lots that's a little bit more removed
Runs
from
about-
Central Campus,
About every 15 minutes.
Mhm.
Mhm.
and it's very convenient.
Right, it sure is.
And for those of us who have been on larger campuses, particularly for graduate study and, all of that, and we know what it really means to park distant and
Yes,
then
yeah.
walk or ride the shuttle, it is pretty close in.
Mhm.
Okay, and I think maybe there was another question about that I.
About when rush
When-
is.
Rush.
Greek rush.
You wanna
Recruitment.
speak to that?
Sure. I'm in a sorority and I absolutely love it. Greek Rush for girls. So recruitment happens about 2 weeks into the school year. So you can go ahead and join an intramural team if you want to. You can get to know the girls in your hall. You can get to know people in your classes. You can get acquainted to campus before you decide if you want to do recruitment or not. Because recruitment here is a lot different than other schools. It's a lot more laid back. You can go through it as a sophomore if you want to even, or you can go through it as a freshman. I had some friends who went through it and they decided it wasn't for them. And then they ended up dropping out, but they still had all those friends they made throughout the system. But I went through it freshman year and I loved it.
Yeah, talk with us a little bit about that last point, because I know that a lot of folks assume, okay, if you join a sorority, then your other friends are no longer friends, and that's a rule. So how does that work at Sanford?
So my closest friends are actually not in my sorority at all. I've met them through my major. I've met them through SGA. That's what
What?
it's.
No.
It's a lot of fun.
Even though she likes her friends. that are
I do. I love them. But like my close knit, my like good 2 or 3, I've met them through SGA. I've met them through my major and so on. But when you're in a sorority or a fraternity, you're not just bound to those people. You can still do events outside of campus. They can still come to a lot of your events. We have sisterhood events that are really fun. So one thing, especially during COVID, we've had a lot more of those since we haven't been able to have full-on semis or formals. And so we've had sisterhood dinners a lot, but we can't go inside the house because of visitation rules. And so they would have dinner waiting outside and we'd come by, like drive by, and they just give us a free dinner, which is very much appreciated. And so
Free is a really big thing. Here. What can I say? Hope you're going to feel that the entire nation is directing questions to you here.
okay.
But there's an additional question. How does Greek life work with Christian values?
So our recruitment is actually values-based. And so before you go through recruitment for women, you'll take a survey online that will help you decide your 4 main values. And so that's one major topic of conversation as you go through recruitment. But also in our chapter, and I think in every chapter, we have Bible studies that we go through. We have something called Testimony and Tacos. And so one Thursday night of a month, it's led by our chaplain. It's a lot of fun.
I
It's a lot of fun. And so it's led by a chaplain, and a sister will give her testimony and lead a short Bible study, and then we go get Mexican food afterwards. Usually we go to
Is
Moe's
it
Southwest
free?
Grill. It is not free,
Oh.
unfortunately. Unfortunately.
Okay.
But the fellowship is worth it.
Yeah.
So it's just little things like that. But then also I would go into the chapter room and I'd have like impromptu Bible studies or just heart-to-heart discussions with a big or just someone else in the chapter. And so it works.
Scott, as a dad, talk with us about what you've observed with the friendships that Hope has developed.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I would say this, is she's only about 11 miles down the road from us. But as a parent, doesn't matter if it's 11 miles or 11 hours.
Yeah.
They're outside of your, outside from under your roof. But we've gotten to know a lot of her friends. And, iron sharpens iron, scripture says. And so I've seen people come into her life, and I definitely sense that she has come into other people's lives. And so when you come to Sanford, you can't just think in tunnel vision. You have to think broad-based of the people that not only are you going to impact, but the people who are going to impact you. And I think it's just basic that, bad company corrupts good habits, but good company builds in good habits.
Yes.
So it depends on who you hang with, how it's going to impact you. And so choices do have consequences.
And truth is, you can find trouble wherever you
Mhm.
go.
Absolutely.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I think parents need to understand that for their kids. And again, from a parental point, just you pray over your kids more as they get older.
Yeah.
I thought it started when they were young, and when they moved out, it's over and enjoy your life. But it's just a constant state. And so it kind of continues to build that relationship between a parent and a child when they're walking through leadership opportunities at not only Sanford, but wherever they go.
And isn't it great as a parent to be able to enter that next phase of relationship with your son or daughter when they go to college? I know we've all had that experience, and it's a nice thing to see. Tommy, one for you. With the recent severe weather in the area, what about the protocol for campus when tornado warnings occur, and how does all that work?
That's a great question. Several things come into play when it comes to severe weather. One of the things that falls into my wheelhouse is to continuously monitor the weather. I have really close relationships with Jefferson County EMA, which is the county that Samford resides in, the National Weather Service. These briefings start days out. And that's not to say weather can't pop up on a dime, because it can, but typically these systems take days to get here. We start those briefings well in advance. I start sending emails out, probably some to people that don't want to get them at times. And let them, thank you, Dr. Westmoreland, appreciate that. And I send those emails out so that everybody gets on the same page, whether that's on the instructional side of the house, the student affairs side of the house, residence life, athletics, Greek life, all those people are included. Building coordinators in each of the buildings that are on campus already know where the designated shelter areas are. Once a tornado warning takes place within this community, if Sanford is in that polygon, or if Homewood, the greater area of Homewood, is in that polygon, we shelter in place. And I'm the one that actually sends those alerts out. So if you get it and you didn't want to get it, I guess you'll just have to remember my face, because I'm the one that sends it. But to answer the question, it's something that we take very, very seriously here at Sanford. And anybody in the Southeast, you have to do that.
And everybody can sign up for that.
Yes, sir.
Including parents, so that
Certainly.
they know exactly what's going on.
Right.
And I think, in fact, correct me if I'm wrong, I think there are either 13 or 14 people on that email distribution list when you get into the serious process of deciding what needs to happen.
Yes, sir.
And then, there is a great deal of preparation for that. And then as the weather event begins to unfold, then that discussion gets pretty robust pretty quick.
Very fast. Yes, sir, it does. And those notifications over Rave, that's the emergency notification system we have. Those notifications go out just like that. And again, we take it very seriously, and we prepare on the front end.
Yeah, and we are in a part of the country where we are subject to having tornadoes. So
Certainly.
we
Any of the
are
12 months out of the
a
year.
little bit hyper vigilant about that. Hope, back to you. Okay. Who will the next SGA president be? We've had that election, and fill us in.
We have on April 21st, we'll have our inauguration, and Tyler Kendall will be our new president. You can contact him at tkendall@sanford.edu. He's going to do a great job.
You got to get a cell number next?
I do. I send so many emails.
You got a cell phone number? Yeah.
Yeah, and for me, I need to be saying that's B. Taylor. Yeah, well, and I've already got it nailed as having the smoothest presidential transition, so I guess you all will have to have the second smoothest presidential transition.
I can go with that.
But it will be great. Tyler's done a wonderful job this year as VP for Senate, and well qualified, and we're all looking for. Well, I started to say I'm looking forward to working with him. I'm looking forward to Tyler being the SGA president.
I am too.
Okay, Gary, I think this one's going to go to you. How do most freshmen find roommates?
A lot of freshmen will find their roommates during orientation when they come to campus, or some of the social media outlets that admissions has established. They will connect that way with different individuals and select a person to be a roommate. The other way that students find a roommate is that residence life has a housing maintenance system in which individuals will identify different attributes that they possess, likes they don't like, so what kind of music that they don't like and they like, and then through this system, they will begin to compare individuals and then match up individuals as roommates. The system is not foolproof, but it works pretty well. So
And now, Hope, I'm going to ask you this. How did you find your roommate?
We actually grew up going to church together, and we were in the same small group. And then she was in between Sanford and another school. I kept nudging her. I was like, I think Sanford's pretty great. And so she decided for Sanford, and we lived together freshman year, sophomore year. Junior year, we took a little break, and we decided that we didn't want to do that again. And so now we're living together again this year. So,
wow, that's awesome.
3 out of 4 years.
Okay. Big question. Will step sing take place for students entering this fall? I am once again going to put the appropriate conditions out here, but I can tell you our folks in student affairs are definitely making plans for step sing next year.
Mhm.
And, if we had a little longer runway, if we'd been able to keep people here till like June or something, I think we might have been able to have it this year.
April.
But we're excited about that. And that is Jeanna's favorite tradition.
Yes.
So we'll come back to the campus next year to go to step sing. How large does Sanford plan to grow, and how big is too big? I can take that one. Okay. We have had for the last 12, 13, 14 years, very slow measured growth at Sanford. When we got here in 2006, I think the student population all told was about 4,500. This fall, it was 5,700. And so just over that period of time, we've grown in those numbers. Dr. Taylor will be leading our administration and our board to look at all of that information over the next year or two. But from conversations with him, I think he's pretty comfortable with the general direction that we've had. We've been blessed at Sanford with enrollment growth at a time when a lot of private institutions have struggled. We have consistently had, as I say, reasonable enrollment growth. I think a big reason for that is, Scott, we got a lot of satisfied parents out there, and they actually become some of our best ambassadors in talking with other families about Sanford. So I don't think, I think Sanford is likely to continue to grow a little bit. I don't think it's going to be massive. Okay, what are the topics at chapel? Gary, you want to take a run at that? It's a complex kind of an answer.
Probably Hope and I both can take a run at that
Okay.
because I do know that our campus minister is trying to accomplish a lot of new ideas and new challenges with it. One of those being relationships, developing a relationship and understanding the Christian mission in relationships and how important that is for individuals. A lot of the topics that this year have gone along lines of understanding one another, understanding differences, appreciation of differences, and more importantly, love that Christ is wanting us as individuals to show towards another, to one another and the like. Some specific topics. Hope, can you? Since I don't go to chapel as much as I probably should.
Well, I think my perspective is I'm jumping in here.
You didn't have me there, girl.
I have my
Is
comment.
that we normally invite a really great speaker.
I was like, I
And-
think I'm the only one that's
and
been
then
to
let
chapel.
them take it.
Well,
Scott.
I would say this, Bobby Gatlin is the
Universal ministry.
great.
and
Yeah.
he has come in from a church background,
Mhm.
but more importantly, how he's connected with students, his entire ministry. I've known him for years. He's bringing that into the fold of Samford on
Mhm.
campus. He's built an incredible staff that's like-minded. And I think based on the time when I was at Sanford the time that now is happening. It's the difference between night and day. And I can continue to see how they're trying to sharpen it. And so the chapel services, besides having someone like myself speak, I think you can every week it's going to be quality. Every week it's going to be determined to be Christ-centered, and it's going to be driving home what they're already learning from hopefully the parents and from the students that they're involved in the small groups with.
Well said.
And
Thank you.
hopefully,
That was well said. Yeah.
I couldn't say it better myself.
I read from your cue card.
Gary, how many sermons have you preached? And we do require 60 convo credits for graduation, and hope you in good shape with.
I finished.
Not
last
putting you on the
year.
spot or anything.
Yeah.
Just, you know,
Hunter,
good.
Hunter, our son, was going the week of graduation to
He
get his
was. He was.
So, I mean, it depends on the personality. She got hers, I think, sophomore year. I mean, it
Junior
just
year.
junior
Junior
year.
year.
It depends on the
Yeah.
person and
Yeah.
time allotment and how you manage your time.
Sure. Next question. Will there be a parents' weekend in the fall, and has that date been scheduled? I know there's going to be a parents' weekend, and I think that the date is set. I know that we have a preliminary date for homecoming, and we have a preliminary date for the installation of Dr. Taylor as the 19th president of Sanford. And I think that the family weekend date is a couple of weeks before that. I'm looking off camera over here. BK, can you Google around and see if you can find that, if we've got Parents Weekend already set? If so, we'll try to smuggle that in before we finish the broadcast tonight. What's been the most challenging part of the past year? Oh my goodness, as far as Sanford is concerned.
COVID.
Yeah. We're going to run this an extra hour. Because
We're all a little giddy. We're not accustomed to seeing each other without masks on.
Did they miss the part about me
Say-
giving 1,500 tests and
Yeah.
taking 64?
right.
For all, I think everyone who's participating tonight, there is something that's real called decision fatigue.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you have, all of you have been in levels of leadership. We all have, but specifically for the home of Sanford.
Yeah.
You've had to make decisions and then immediately alter them, change them. And so when you start seeing, yes, the date is set and
Yeah.
there's hope now
Yeah.
that we're going to make that happen. I think as a parent, you can be assured that they're doing everything they can to make your students, one, safe, but two, engaged on campus. I mean, you got to have the balance there. It's got to be
Yeah.
safety,
Yeah.
but they've got to be engaged on our campus. And you've done and I'm biased because of this one right here. She's been involved,
Yes.
but through decision fatigue, you have maintained the level of excellence. And as a parent of a Sanford student, and you're not paying me to say this, I'm paying y'all. Thank you. Thank you. Because you've got our most precious commodity at their most critical time, making life-changing choices. And during the most, if I hear the term unprecedented ever again, I'm going to kick someone in the shins, okay? So it's most unprecedented times, and you've stayed the level of balance between safety and keeping them engaged. So thank you.
Scott, thank you for that. And it has been a challenge for everybody, not just at Sanford. But we have so wanted to preserve as much of the real college experience as we could while doing our best to keep people safe. And, you know, our guiding principle at the very beginning was exactly that. Let's have the best provision of education that we have, the best approach to a normal college experience that we can have, all within the context of keeping safe. And then all of that under the umbrella of the Lordship of Jesus Christ. And lest we not forget, it is that irrepressible hope that we have had consistently all the way through Sanford that has made those challenges so much easier to bear. So that is true. We have a family weekend. It is September 25th, and homecoming is November 5th and 6th. And folks, I think that is beginning to get to the end of the broadcast. It's an opportunity for me to talk with you all for just a few minutes. And please let me just say, if you do have additional questions, add them to the chat feature, and we'll make sure that you get answers to those questions. Serving at Sanford has been the greatest honor of my life. And Jeanna and I thank God for every experience. We thank God for 90% of the experiences that we have had here. It's been such a blessing. And we have enjoyed the people. We have enjoyed the programs that we've been able to support over the years and learn from. And so as we enter this next chapter of our own lives, our enthusiasm for Sanford has never been greater. When I was joking earlier about this greatest transition in the history of presidential transitions, I really wasn't joking about that. I believe that Dr. Beck Taylor is called to be the next president of Sanford. And I trust him. I believe that he is uniquely prepared for this next chapter in Sanford's life. And so Jeanna and I are going to be enthusiastic in our support of Beck and Julie. Now, you've got important decisions to make if you haven't already decided about your college choice. And chances are you've been able to attend one of our programs and you've heard me give my elevator speech, but one last time, here it is. Sanford is unique within the world of higher education, more than 4,000 colleges and universities in the country today. Sanford is unique for 4 primary reasons. Number 1, it's known for quality. And we've got a lot of quality reflected on this panel tonight. We can document the ways that Sanford is a quality institution. Number 2, it's large enough that it offers an amazing array of academic experiences and student life experiences. More than 170 majors, minors, and concentrations, more than 140 student organizations, 17 NCAA Division I sports, more than 5,700 students from 47 states and 30 countries. It's large enough, but it's small enough that relationships really do matter. You've seen some of that played out here with this panel tonight. And then number 4, the most unusual characteristic in this age. 180 years after it was founded, it is still infused with the hope that we only find in Christ. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us tonight, and God bless you.